Alrighty, hello, and welcome to the project stream number 4. And we are continuing today with doing the Northumbrian Rune Poem adaptation into Old English. So the schedule for today got a little messed up. There were some unforeseen things that had to happen during the first hour of when we usually have our stream. So I've pushed it back an hour today. So we will be going from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Pacific. I was able to make that work. Now, this definitely makes it difficult for some people in some time zones to do things, but or to be present on time during the time of the stream, but that is okay. The recording will be on YouTube afterwards, and it's my dog. That will be there. I just said it would be on YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and drop some links in the chat, and but I will go take care of my dog first. I'll be right back. Alright, I have returned with my dog. Hopefully he behaves himself. So, I was about to drop some links in the chat. So, first I'm going to drop the link to the North Sea Rune Poems, written by the same author as these Northumbrian Rune Poems. Bam. I'm going to pin that. I don't know if I can have multiple pinned is the problem. So we'll see. And then I'm just going to link North Sea Poet, since that is the author of these poems that we're reading. There we go. Cool. Yeah, I guess that can be the pinned one. So, you may or may not be able to hear him chewing on a tree. It was the only way to get him to come in here. People are still sort of moving, so he's still getting kind of scared by all the noise and stuff. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and continue. Where we last left off, we were figuring out this poem here with the poem for Rad. And there are a few things we were able to bring in from the Old English version, I think. Actually, no, not really many, now that I think of it. We kept the Sitith Onuvan. Those kind of got spread over 2 half lines. And this was our first example of, I think this was our first example, or maybe it was our second example, of one Old English half-line matching up with two modern English half-lines. That's just the economy of Old English grammar here. We need from within the wine vessel in modern English, but you could just say of wien vata and put vat in the dative followed by of, and that tells you the same information, same amount of information in 2 words instead of 4. We don't need the in poetry usually. It can be helpful for clarifying things, and I actually use the word the on this line here. And I'll go over what I did here because I think we were having trouble with this last time. What I ended up doing was I went with the word lid here for ship. And so now it's the ship of the league, which is a lot closer to what it says in modern English, which gets sort of that reverse kenning that I was having trouble with last time across. North Sea Poet is here. Just need to match a brew, make a cup of tea. You didn't need to translate that for me, but might be helpful for others. I hope you can make your tea. Thank you for coming. I know we're like an hour later than usual. I explained that a little bit earlier in the stream. There was just some stuff that had to happen unexpectedly, and I had to push the whole stream back an hour, and I didn't get to make an announcement anywhere. So thank you for coming anyway. So that's how I resolved that with Rad. I just used the word for ship lid here. And with this, I think we solved this at the very end of last time, I think. Or maybe I didn't during the stream. But what I did was I used widge set. I made up a word. Like the steed seat with a W, which then alliterates with Ywald, leather. So that's how I resolved Rad. Now, between last week and this week, I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rune poems. So it's been a week, and I've done 7. So I'm going to sort of go over some of the things that I did, some of the changes I made, or I guess like adaptation choices that I made in each of these poems. We're going to read each modern English poem, and then I'm going to read the Old English poems, and then sort of explain myself. All right. I didn't want to open a new tab. That was a mistake. Whoops. Pardon me. I've just got to get some other things set up in the corner over here. So, the first one that I did by myself was Cain. Branch sorrow, slayer of trees. Known to every person by its pale light in darkest hours as it sits upon its handle, a companion to the traveler. Though destroyer of the house, this hound of the forest tamed, when upon the road or within the hearth ships in which kings and lords feast. So Cain, you might remember in Old English, is a torch. It's Quicker Johan, Kuth on Fira Blak on Berchlich Berneth oftest thar he adelinges inne resteth. So this is sort of getting across that idea of like a torch in the light. And it's the branch sorrow. Now, branch sorrow, there is sort of a, I almost want to call it a formula that shows up in some English poetry. I forgot to mute my phone. Getting notifications. Indeed, I'm getting a notification that there are live dashboard settings available to me. I sure hope I know that already, given that I am on Twitch currently. Okay. So there is a sort of formula in English poetry. I think I've seen it more in Middle English poetry, like the branch's sorrow, to talk about any part of a tree that you hew off, is sort of sorrow to the tree. So that's what's getting across, because a torch in the Middle Ages, or even early, just whatever time we're talking about runes in, things are going to be usually made out of wood. That's typical. So that requires cutting a tree for a torch. So what I tried to get that across with, and we have Slayer of Trees, but I want to be more economical. I was trying my darndest to get some of these poems to fit like half line for half, one line per half line, and I succeeded pretty well with some of these, but as we've seen on the ones I've done in stream, it can be a challenge sometimes. So I basically got these both across. Branch sorrow is fire, as in these translations are fire. Oh, I mean, that still works either way, I think. I was thinking of the wood you need. Still haven't mashed brew yet. Okay, take your time. What I ended up going with was lim lao. Lao means injury, and limb means like branch or a limb of any living thing, really. It could be your arms, but it could also be a branch of the tree. So if it's meant to just be the fire itself that is the branch, the branch sorrow, that the translation still works for that. Yeah, because what I did was I did lim lao Baum, when Baum meaning tree. Cognate with German Baum. It's where we get the word beam from in modern English. So that's what I did, and then the alliteration was with B. I did kuth med bärarna I själva. I used that formula of like each among people. I used bärarna. Bärn usually means more like a noble, but it can just sort of in the formula mean anyone, as we've seen, and I chose it because it alliterates with B, as you would hope it does. I also did something, so it's in the Old English rune poem, it says kuth on fira, and kuth gets a stress, because it's an adjective. I kind of cheated, and I made kuth not stressed, which is kind of breaking the meter, but the bärarna I själva here is the real like stresses. So you just kind of have to kuth unstressedly when you're reading this. I think there's a way I could do this where I actually get rid of kuth and just sort of use a different preposition to express that it's known, like, that it's like it's the branch sorrow and slayer of trees among indeed, I could just get rid of kuth and it would make sense. But I kept the kuth because I was trying to keep the parallel with the Old English. It's kuth on fira block, and we use block on the next line because you used pale light, probably influenced by the rune poem. So I kept the kuth there too, but we can get rid of it if it's a metrical problem. For blakra thechelan in thistrum tidum. So this one ended up being a full line just because of how much meaning there is here. By its pale light in darkest hours. So that's basically what I have here. It's known kuth. I think this is also another reason grammatically it makes more sense for the next line, even though it's not required for this line. It's known for its pale light. Now, so the pale part is block, which was in the Old English rune poem. The sorry, my computer's doing a weird thing. I ended up using, instead of light, I used torch, by its pale torch, but I'm using torch figuratively to mean light, as I think I've seen it mean that basically, or like fire, just mean fire generally, because I needed thorn alliteration because darkness here, or darkest, I just use dark in a dark time, but thistra is like very dark. So I went with thistra here. And then thechla to alliterate. Known by its pale, like flame, torch flame, in darkest hours. darkest of times or darkest hours. Then we have, as it sits upon its hill, Thana und Helva sitteth. When on its handle, on a handle it sits. Yehleda ferendas. And Yehleda, I think we used before for companion. I needed it here because of an H. I needed an H to alliterate with the H here on Helva. So that worked. And then a ferend is a traveler. So it's the companion of the traveler. The destroyer of the house. Tha huses forwirta, undoer, unmaker, houses destroyer. This Holtwulf Yetemod. I actually made up a compound here. There are a lot of, I think there's at least one poem, if I'm remembering correctly, where we have like Wolf und Holte that's used, like a hound in the forest. So I just was like, I'm going to make a word. Forest wolf. Holtwulf, because I needed H alliteration with hus here. Yetemod, tamed. When upon the road or within the hearthship in which kings and lords feast. This one was another situation where the full line in Old English ended up being three, like this. These three lines made up one full line in Old English. And it's these first two that make up one half line. And then this third one makes up its own half line. So what I did was, so when on the road or in the, I should put an in here, I think in Herðnakum. Yeah, so what I did was on the way, on the road, or in hearth ships. I just made hearth ships a word, Herðnaka. And then kings and lords feast, wherein, oh yeah, that's why I didn't put it in, because I have wherein in the next line. Wherein, and then hlavor means lord, but it can also mean king. So I just chose this word because it has H alliteration and also means both lord and king. So I just said lords / kings, symbliath, they feast. So that's how I adapted Cain. Next one is Yivu. So let's read the modern English and then I'll explain my Old English choices here. Given forth and given back, friendship up it builds, and honor it creates to strengthen the bonds, forged of finest steel, between lord and herdsman, through the cycle unending, greatest friends, strongest allies found, whether time, wealth, land given, or even just for a night, a roof, and a meal given. So, as you can see, I was able, for most of the poem, to get it match up one line for an Old English half line pretty consistently. And it's just these last two lines that were a little too hefty to fit into one half line, so they each ended up being their own full lines here at the bottom. So, given forth, given back. Beboren on forgolden. So this is beberan, to bring forward, or give forward. And then forgildan, which is to return, to pay back something. Goldath hit Hilda. I'm sort of doing a thing where I'm using a verbal form of an adjective that I've done a few times to get across some of these lines. So here, Goldath means it improves. Hilda, friendship, it improves like sort of your bond, which is going to come up later. So I've kind of switched bond and friendship here. So Hilda is more like your bonds, your what holds you together. And then Ara it wircheth, it makes honor, creates honor. And then I have friendship here, but a poetic form of friendship, winniship. Wait, I think I missed a space here. 2 spaces. There we go. I was like, that's misaligned. Yeah. All right. Friendship to elnian. Elnian is to build something up, to strengthen it, to give it a stronger foundation or more honor or whatever it happens to be with elnian. Ellen is a word for strength, and so it's just the verb form of that, to strengthen. So then we have Master Stila, which this should probably actually just be Stila in Northumbrian. I'll check that later. But forge of the finest steel. Master Stila Ythwaran is what I did here. So Mast is like the best, most, and then Stila is just still, and then Ythwaran is the verb Ythwaran it's Thweran to forge. And I chose Ythwaran for forge because I needed thorn alliteration for this next line. Betweux Theodna on Ferdmen. I tried to keep the modern English because you provided a modern English but with an old English word in it. Fyrt. In Northumbrian that would probably be Ferd with the E. And it is not plural here. Ferdmen is just the dative singular of Ferdman. It is also the plural of Ferdman, but that's just something weird with consonant stems, like the word man. Their dative singular and their nominative and accusative plural tend to be the same, with the same sort of umlaut happening here of A to E. So Ferdmen is, so it's between Lord, Theoden, and Ferdman. And it's just the betweux requiring the dative here. Thurk thane endelazen ring, through the endless cycle. And I found an example of ring meaning cycle, which was good because I needed an H again, so I used yehledan again for the H there. H alliteration. Greatest friend, strongest allies found. So I did like companions, yewered, sort of made true. A yewed can be like a contract or an alliance that you forge. So that was a good verb for me to choose, I thought there. To make these more than just companions, but like allies. And then these last two had to be their own full lines here. So whether time, wealth, land given. So I did Whether ye mavmas, ye thraya, ye muldan yevin. And I just felt like I needed to switch time and wealth there. I used thra for time, and it ends with a G, and then in the dative, or no, this is the accusative here. In the accusative, it ends with that thra becomes thraya, and I'm using ye here between these, and this is just sort of a way to list out alternatives with ye. Usually it's like either ye blank, like either this or that. But here I'm using whether, this, or that, or that. And because there's ye here, I mean there's a ye after it too, but it's sort of before the pause. I thought it was better to put madmas first and then moldan here. I think it's more common though to have the M. If it's just on the second and third alliteration, you have those on either side of the kisra. But there's no rule that says that has to happen. So I just thought it sounded better with Whether ye madmas ye thraga ye moldan yevin. Or even just for a night, a roof and a meal given. Although evne thurch ana nicht in and wist. And my alliteration here is not with the vowel. So ana and in are alliterating here. So either, or even through one night, just like for the span of one night, still haven't mashed a brew yet. Oh, that wasn't a new message. It's just things can become unpinned, I have learned, on their own. There's like a time limit for something to be pinned. And so it showed up as if there were a new message, but everything just kind of shifted up is what happened. Sorry about that. Anyways, the main change I made here, whist means like food or a meal. And I'm just sort of implying the yevin here onto the next line so I don't have to repeat it for metrical reasons. And then I changed roof to just a place to stay, because that's what roof implies. Like a roof and a meal, we mean like a place to sleep, hopefully that has a roof, and a meal. So I just use in here because it alliterates with the one night. Alright, so that is how I adapted Evu here. Let's go on to win. So, a fleeting thing, found in the sun's warmth, sorrow's golden equal, and its bright opposite, brought on by the good, and felt in celebration, but easier to find and grasp when one has suffered not, and by the callous held, when evil is wrought on others. So this is one that I managed to get match up perfectly. Actually, the next two I got matching up perfectly. 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've just been on a roll with matching them up from this point on. I might change Lana here, but I need to think about what that would be in Northumbrian. But this is the word I chose. So a fleeting thing. I chose Lana, because it means transitory, or it's related to the word loan, actually, or lean, in the sense of there was a loan, because it's on loan. It's transitory. You don't have it forever. And it's used in Old English poetry a bit to indicate sort of temporary things. So I thought it would be a good one to use. And it starts with an L, which I ended up using down here for actually the equal part. I had to shuffle this around a little bit to get it to work alliteration-wise, but the net gain of that was that it ended up making everything match equally as well, which was nice. So instead of a fleeting thing found in the sun's worth sorrow's golden equal and its bright opposite, what I did was I said, Lano llaunes. And llaunes is a way of saying warmth, or like being covered by something. So it's a fleeting warmth / comfort, Yalika sorga, Yulden swasumna. So it's a transitory or fleeting warmth or cover equal of sorrow, gold, or like made of gold, as the sun. So that's how I got those ideas across. And then I had glad yathweora. Yathweora meaning opposite here. I think I coined that word, but yathweora means opposite as an adjective, and I just made it into a noun with the weak form of the adjective. That's usually how those become nouns. So I just made it up. But I think it is grammatically correct to do this. And it's grammatically parallel with the evika. So it's like equal, opposite. So there's a parallel there as well. So it's like, it's bright opposite. Glad can mean bright. Just like bright can mean happy instead of about vision. And I believe the brightness is figurative here anyway, because we're talking about wind, which is joy. So we're just talking about joy. So it's like a transitory warmth, equal to sorrow. It's sort of like the opposite or equal to sorrow, counterpoint to sorrow. And it's golden as the sun. It's bright, opposite. A bright opposite number. All right, brought on by the good and felt in celebration. I just said, for golden kenned, like sort of birthed by good or brought about by good. And on glewa yefreded. So felt, yefredan is a way to say feel, sort of more emotion-wise, as opposed to felan is actually usually physical, like you touch something, felan, whereas fredan is more clearly emotionally you're feeling it. And felt in celebration, gleo, I use gleo there, like music, dance, celebration. But easier to find and grasp when one has suffered not. And I used edrath again. Edrath, it is easier, findan anfon, to find and to grasp, than an yeferde harm. When one has not suffered harm, I'm using the verb yeferan. Feran means to travel or to journey, but yeferan can mean to undergo something. And here it's undergoing harm. And instead of one has suffered not, I just use one did not suffer harm. Because Old English doesn't really use the perfect very much. It does exist, and you see it in prose sometimes, but in poetry it almost never shows up. Okay, I won't say almost never, but it's not as common to see the... I just can't think of any examples where I've seen perfect, and I've seen discussion about its rarity in poetry. And by the callous held when evil is wrought on others. So warichtan means, waricht means callous as an adjective. And then I just made it into the callous, like people, or I think it's meant to be people here, but just those who are callous. I made it a plural here. So it's warichtan hit yahaldath. And the callous hold it. Thana wiryath men. When it is wrought on others. This verb wiryan, it often means like to curse. That meaning comes up sometimes. So it's like when a curse is brought out about men. But it doesn't have to mean curse. It just can just generally be like badness is done to others. So that's what I did. When people do badness, basically, upon others. I think the Latin gloss for this is maleficere, which is to do bad, basically, to do harm. And that word does end up changing meaning in the later Middle Ages in Latin to specifically do witchcraft. But at this time, it's a little bit more literal, like, do bad. It's like sort of facere, to do, and then male, put before it. So it's like bad, do. But wiryan is, I think it's related to the word worry in modern English. But it's more the sense of worrying, like you can worry a piece of leather, like by making it, you're basically like aging it, or like making it looser, I think, is what worrying entails. But it's just doing harm, doing bad things. That's a word whose meaning has changed, and I don't think it's directly from this word. I think it's just related. It's like from the same root. So let us continue. That one matched up pretty perfectly. Let's look at hail. Hail, the whitest of grain, which is what comes up in the Old English Rune Poem. Yeah, huitus corna. So I just did the same thing, huitus corna. Scattered from the cloud hall, blanketing the ground below. During the time of snake's grief, when dashed against skin bare, it pierces like battle blizzard, tossed around in fiercest gusts. When the sapling's destruction ends, this gravel of the clouds melts and becomes food, or becomes blood of the earth. So, huitus corna, og helven hala stråkten, grundbed behelmath on helf snakkan, tha on banlokan jewirpeth, tha swelcha baduhrith stingeth, on blastum to torvad, than a tanqualm endath, vis greit wolkna melteth, to grundes dreor. Okay, so what I did, I kept the huitus corna from the Old English Rune Poem, scattered from the cloud hall. I needed H alliteration, so I said helvon hala instead of cloud hall. I used wolken down here, but I used helvon here. And sometimes we do see helvon talking about clouds, so it's fine. Helvon hala is close enough to cloud hall, heaven hall. Strogd and strewn about, scattered from the heaven hall. Blanketing the ground below. I did grundbed behelmath. It helms, it covers the bed of the ground, the sort of plane of the ground. On heov snakkan. During the time of snake's grief, we saw, I think it was, I'm trying to remember which one we did. I'm pretty sure we had like a snake's sorrow somewhere. Or I think this is snake's sorrow. Because later, oh no, we had the opposite. We had snake's something else. I can't remember what it was. I lost it. Maybe it's with Yad. Oh yeah, it's down here. We'll talk about that. Snake's Grief, that is something that's in the, I think it's the Norwegian Rune Poem. No, it's in the Icelandic Rune Poem. Snakasocht, the sickness or the grief of the snake is winter. Because I guess you don't think of snakes having a fun time in winter. And we're talking about hail. So during the time of snake's grief. So that's winter on Heov Snakan, the grief of the snake. And what I did to impart that this is the time of the snake's grief is I just used the accusative. If you use on with the accusative, that is one way of it could mean two things. It could mean it's motion towards that thing, but in this case, motion towards grief. Doesn't make that much sense. The other meaning is like it indicates like when something happens, you use the accusative with on. All right, so when dashed against skin bare, it pierces like battle blizzard. I did. An banloka you whippeth when it dashes against your banloka means bone container, bone locker, but that's a way to impart like your physical body. When it beats against your body, tha swelche beaduchrid stingeth. Then beaduchrid. Chrid is not a very common word in Old English. Some people think it might be a loan from Icelandic, actually. But it does make sense as a cognate. Chrid means a snowstorm. I actually labored a lot about like what word for snowstorm to use here. But I ended up with chrid because I thought I could make a cool beaduchrid compound. Badu meaning battle, and then stingan is to stab or to pierce. That's where we get the word sting from. Tossed around in fiercest gusts when the sapling's destruction ends. So I did on blastum totorvad. So in gusts, strong gusts, totorvad, tossed around. When fanna tan qualm. Tan means like a shoot or a twig or a sprout, but it can also mean a sapling. And then qualm is sort of death or destruction of something. Usually balo qualm is definitely death. So tan qualm and death, when the time of sprout death ends. This greot wolkina melteth. And this might be extra metrical, but I'm just saying like the verb, maybe the verb should go to the beginning. Usually when you ignore the verb, it goes to the beginning. But I like it better here. It just sounds better here, even though it might be metrically off. This greut wolkna melteth. And I could fix the meter by making this a compound like cloud gravel, but then I lose the alliteration with the G here, because then the primary stress goes on wolken here. Wolken means cloud. So this greut is gravel. I think it might be related to the word grout in modern English. Or grit. Melteth, melts. To grundes dreur. It melts into, or becomes, the dreur of the ground, of the earth. Grundes dreur. So that is how I adapted Hayat, and it lined up pretty perfectly. I hope the changes in meaning are not too drastic. So let's go on to Nid. So, oppressor of the heart. What sorrow it wrought, what hardship it caused. Weak it left me in halls of my kin, as the life robbery came upon me, a life-sucking monster, this strengthener of distress. But strength I found within it, to not become prey of the she-wolf, and to bask in the glory of elves again. Okay, so, this is Need, and this is sort of like, let's see if I can find it in the Old English poem. There we go. Need bis narrow and brastan. It's like narrow in the heart. It's a, it is where we get the word need, but it has a more negative connotation in Old English of like any kind of constriction or, oh, that one is about cancer, to be exact, my struggle with cancer. Oh, I wish I knew that before. Okay. Because need is like any kind of hardship or struggle when it's had. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about what translation I did do, and I can definitely go back and change this later, but we'll see if it still works. So So for oppressor of the heart, the Old English uses naru on bröstan, narrow in the breast, and bröst is a really common word for the heart, like the more emotional side of the heart, really. Another word that's used is hreðr, and I went with hreðr because it alliterates with health. Again, I used the health for sorrow like I did with the snake's grief up here, just because H alliteration is easier to find than B alliteration with these words. So I said hreðris athricha. The athricha means, it's one of many words to mean like oppress or push down on. Oppressor of the heart. Fanna helv workta. It like wrought workta, sorrow. What sorrow it wrought? The sorrow it wrought is what I said here, with the being in the accusative because it's the object of wrought here. That mayan arvada. Mayan arvada is not just hardship. It's like arvada is hardship, but mayan arvada is like great hardship. And I chose it because it has M alliteration. Mayan means like sort of your inner strength. So it's mayan arvada. The hardship of your inner strength. Maibir me bedalda. So in halls of my kin, and I just used the dative here to express the in part. My is kinsman, and then bir is sort of the place, the town, or the hall, or the castle, or whatever it happens to be. Me bedalda, and it's the dative here because it's. I wanted to get across this idea of like leaving. So bedalan actually means like to separate someone from. Or to deprive. I think that's the closest word for bedalan. To deprive. So like deprive me in the halls of my kin when thiftu aldres thirs verbana. So what I did here is I said as or when thiftu aldres the thief of life, thiftu, or the theft of life, the life robbery, theft is thiftu here. The theft of life, aldur, and then I just sort of restate who they are. Thirs fergbana. Fergbana means like bane or killer of ferg, and ferg is like your sort of spirit that keeps you alive, your inner spirit. And I called it a thirs, a monster, monstrous etin, or sort of, yeah, I think that was the closest to monster I could come up with. It's used of Grendel, so I thought it was appropriate here. Thirs verbana. The strengthener of distress. So I said, theos, this thing, feminine, yestrengeth tharva. It strengthens distress. Aktharin strengtha each fund, but therein I found strength. Thas wilvene to nezena. Nezena, sorry. Put the length in the wrong place. Wilvene. Sorry. Just got congested all of a sudden. Thas wilvene to nezena. This she-wolf, wilvene, she-wolf, to nezena, to save. From the she-wolf to save. And eft to neotenne elftires. So this one is a little tricky metrically, but I think I made it work. So to not become prey to this wolf, basically like to escape. Nezan is to escape or to be saved from. So to escape or to be saved from this the she-wolf, and eft again, or like back to neotan, neotenna, in order to neotan. Neotan is to enjoy or to reap the benefits of something, and here it's reap the benefits of elftir, which is the glory of the elves, which I believe you mean the sun here, because that's That's how glory of the elves is used in Old Norse. Is the glory of the sun is the glory of the elves is the sun. Elftir is what I did there. So that's how I translated it. I hope that's good. Let me go through it one more time. So it's the oppressor of the heart. So that's pretty direct. Whoa, I don't know what just happened. I do, okay. Yes, the oppressor of the heart, that grief that it wrought, that if it wrought that grief, that great hardship deprived me in my kin dwelling, when the theft of life, the life-killing beast or monster, this thing strengthens distress, but therein I found strength to escape this she-wolf and once again enjoy the glory of the elves. Okay, so that is Nate there. So next we have East. The channel sky that roofs the salmon's hull below. In the darkest hours of the every bear's night. Built it by oncoming frost. Built it is by oncoming frost. To blanket the land, a beautiful sight to behold, in which we walk upon. Whilst crisp underfoot, more frail atop the salmon's hull. Sorry, my dog is doing a thing. Okay. So here's how I adapted this one. So the channel sky that roofs the salmon hulls below. What I did was lyftis theota. And theota means like a place that where something comes out, like what's the word I'm looking for? Not estuary, but that could be an example. Theota means like basically a channel or a pipe. So I said like the channel of the sky, the air, luft. Lyftis theota. Over laxis cella, and that's how I translated the salmon hulls below. Laxis cella. Cella is like a hull or building. And then lax is salmon. If you know the word lox, that's salmon. And I think it actually might be better to be lax, just with an A in Northumbrian. Over laxis cella. You can see I used laxella as a compound down here for metrical reasons, but I split it into two words here just because I needed two stresses here. Laxis cella. Under helstorsuan hon nächta jahwelches. Okay, so I made up some words here. Every bear's night was fun to work with. And I knew that I wasn't going to find anything with B that alliterated in the first half line, like darkest hours. There's no word with B that I could find, so I couldn't use bera for bear. So what I ended up going with is actually hon, which is a bear cub. And I hope that works. We're talking about winter, so I thought of like bear cubs cuddling with their mama bears. So I call them the bear nights. Hohennacht. So under Helstorsuan, under the dark shadows, basically is what this is. Helstorsua, the darkest times. I'm expressing time once again with the accusative case here. So under, I'm getting that below as well, but like it's under the sort of cover of this darkness. Helstorsua. Of every bear's night. And so this is that it's the formula again of like each among, and then it's usually a word for a person here, but instead it's every night. But it's every bear night, bear cub night. Hunnechta jahwelches. Built it is by oncoming frost to blanket the land. So what I did for that was I said Thesnoda Hrim Huitel Onlanda. And snood is actually sort of like sudden quickness. So I wanted to get that across of like oftentimes it's like it's been fall and then one day you just like wake up and like, whoa, there's snow all of a sudden. It depends on what climate you're in, but that could definitely happen in Northern England, especially during this time, sort of the Old English period. But the snudachrim, this very quickly oncoming frost, this hoarfrost, chrim, huitel onlanda, and I chose chrim instead of forst because H alliteration, huitel means blanket, a blanket on the land. So instead of to blanket the land, I just made it a noun, a blanket on the land. I could have used helman again, or behelman, like I did before, but I didn't want to repeat that. And I liked the image of a blanket better than just a helm this time for the ice. So I went with huitel, I hope that's okay. A blanket on the land. A beautiful sight to behold. Fire ansehen. A beautiful sight is what that means. And ansehen comes from the verb seon, which means to see. So it kind of gets that behold part in there too, I hope. Fire ansehen. Tharwe fedath onupan. I'm going to use a there. Doesn't really make a difference. I can use it at thorn or an eth in any of these positions and it wouldn't be wrong. It's just typically what I do when I write Old English is I actually put an eth where I think an eth would be pronounced, even though that's not what they did at all. And then I put a thorn where a thorn would be pronounced. And that's just to help me read it more clearly. But when I actually do the addition of this, I might switch it up a bit to be sort of more scribally appropriate for the time period. That'll be sort of part of my like Northumbrianizing process of editing this. Fire ansehen, the beautiful sight. Thar we fedath anupan. Fedan means to walk on foot specifically, and I needed a thicker word than just walk, and this one alliterates, so that's why I chose it. Onupan, upon it. Theachthetrum neudana, or not neudana, neudana. It's two short syllables, which is what I needed. Theachthetrum neudana, ma tydra on laxala. So trum is sort of hardy or true, but it can also mean like firm physically as well. And that's what we want because it's crisp underfoot, but it's more frail atop the salmon saw. It's like when the ice is above, when it's ice on a lake, it's a lot less trustworthy to step on. I thought that was what was gotten across here. So while it's firm beneath the foot part I'm hoping is implied by this verb here, fedan, to walk on feet. Trum neudana. Matidra on laxala. It's more, tidra means frail, fragile. It's more fragile on the river, the laxala, the salmon hull. So that was how I adapted is. Alright, let's get to yer now. Yer, this joy of all people, this mercy of Valleychar, in which the flame of clouds suffers in her labor, to bring forth below shining fruits and golden crops for rich and poor alike, to feast upon day and night till their bellies full and their hearts sing. Okay, so this one, I had to tweak some things in terms of like what line they're on again, but I did manage to match it up half line for line. In Yer in Old English, we've got Gumina Heat, Van God Lath, Hali Helvenas Kunning, Rosan Sillan, Berta Bleda Bernum and Tharo. And there are some elements of that I like brought over. Now instead of Hali Helvenas Kunning, a holy heaven king, what we have here instead is the flame of clouds, the sun, and she suffers in her labor to bring forth shining crops. So that bleda there, I brought that in. And was there Westum here too? Or no? No, I inserted Westum. But let's see. What did I do? So this is the joy of all people. This joy of all people, this mercy in the valley chart. This dram druchtfolk. Druchtfolka. There we go. I don't know why I forgot that. Of the people. And this dram means joy. It can also mean music. But here it's joy. Denefornes milts. So this valley chart is a kind of fish. And this is sort of this is a kenning within a kenning here. So we saw snaka socht in Old Norse was the sickness of the snake. And that was winter. And so here it's summer is the mercy of the valley char. Valley char meaning valley fish. And valley fish is a really common kenning for snake. So it's the snake, it's the mercy of the snake is the summer. Kenningception, yeah, double, like 2 layers of, it's like a matryoshka doll of kennings. I was a little confused by valley char because I wasn't sure if this was char like the fish, or if it was char as in like, because there's flame on the next line. But I don't know why there would be valley char if we're talking about yed, which is about like bountiful crops, right? So, Mercy Poet helped me out with that one. It is that kenning there. So mercy of the snake is the opposite of the hardship of the snake. It's summertime. So we had winter before, now we have summer. So this dram druchtfolka denefornes milts. And deneforn, I added the dene part, but forn is attested for this like kind of trout. Char is a kind of trout-like fish. It could be trout, it could be like a related fish. But the word for that in Old English is forn. And so I just added dena for valley, so deneforn, and that was good because it alliterates with these D's here in the first half line. Dram, druchtfolk, deneforn. And then milts is mercy. Tharinthe wolkna glade, wherein the glade is a flame, or it could also be like an ember. I think that's what glede means now. If you see the word glede, it means ember, but it means flame as well. So the flame of the clouds. So this is she. Yewindagas throwath. Gled is also feminine by happenstance, which is nice because we're talking about sunna, and sunna is feminine. This tharinthe. Ooh, maybe I should put a word the, even though this is getting really thick on the. Oh, I can't put the there because the wolkna is before it. I could say the glade. Tharinthe seu glade wolkna. That would just emphasize the fact that it's feminine. I mean, an Old English speaker would sort of intuitively know that glade is feminine, but there's nothing in the poem that tells the reader that it's feminine. So I kind of want to do that. I might switch this around. The alliteration's on W anyway, so it doesn't really change anything. Tharinthe seu glade wolkna. Flame of the clouds. Yewindagas throwath. Suffers in days of Yewin. Yewindagas. Yewindai is a day of struggle. Yewin. It is related to win in modern English when you win a contest, but in Old English, win is more like the process of going through something, fighting, or whatever it happens to be, rather than the state of having completed it victoriously. And then throwan means just over throwian, actually. So what I did here is the sort of tricky thing I've been doing for a lot of this, because the modern English is very grammatically loose. That works very well for the like free verse type of poetry that's being written. But in Old English, alliterative verse, usually the sentences try to be like grammatical sentences. And so I've been doing some things sometimes that make it more like that in Old English. So instead of to bring forth below shining fruits, I have like so that she brings forth, and it's in the subjunctive here, sort of consequential or hypothetical mood of the verb here. So she suffers in her labors, in her yewindagas, her days of labor, so that she may bring forth below. And I had heo here for she. I guess I did think ahead with that. I forgot that I did that. Heo meaning she. So that she may bring forth below bledum and goldwastum. So I couldn't keep the shining part because I needed the B alliteration with bringan and bledum. And I kept bleda from the Old English rune poem here, like having that parallel. So we lost the shining part of fruits, but it's the sun, and we also still have goldwastum. Goldwastum means like a gold. Wastum can also mean fruit, but both of these are not so much fruit as in specifically that kind of food, like that kind of offspring of a plant, but it's just any kind of offspring of a plant, any kind of crop or fruits of something. So here it's golden. I did golden crops, I did golden fruits, but we already have bleda for blade can also mean crop instead of fruit. They're both sort of ambiguous in that sense. But I kept the gold there. And then in the Old English we have beornum antharum for like noble and poor alike. But I needed vowel alliteration with this verb estan, which means to feast or to like bask in the glory of or joy of or comfort of, which is what I needed for the meaning here. So I did adalingum antharvum instead. Adaling also means noble or prince. So that I thought that still got across like the rich versus the poor. The noble versus those who are in need. To esten of he folien, to enjoy and feast until they are full. I'm just getting this next line's meaning across, until their belly's full. Dies an nechtes, because this needed to take up its entire day and night, takes up an entire half line, but I didn't want another situation where it was like a whole and then like a half. So I just switched that around. Dies an nechtes. And their heart sing. Othat dremen in modum, until they sing or they make music in their hearts, and this is, again, mold is like the heart as in like the seat of thought and emotion, not so much like physical beating organ. Frederick can mean the physical beating organ, but figuratively also means the other thing. But yeah, so mold there for heart. So that is how far I got in the week since last time. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to keep going. We're going to do ew. So I want to look at the rune poems first in Old English. Well, actually, I'm going to read the modern English. Then I'm going to look at the rune poems in Old English, Old Norwegian, and Old Icelandic, and see what parallels we can find and what we can sort of snag from them. That might be helpful. Okay. So, the tree with roughest bark, greenest one in wintry nights. How proudly he stands, a magnificent joy to see, upon one's own estate. Weathered and beaten, with chaos written upon his skin, he bends but doesn't break. Eternally he stands, his roots deep in the depths of the reindeer sea. Okay, North Sea Poet says, I'm still here, just drafting a blog post about war god being a possible storm god. I wonder who you're writing about. No, good luck with that. I am just going to look, now that I've read the modern English one, I'm going to read the old ones. Let's see. So we've got Eoch. Eoch utan unsmede treo. Yeah, it's a rough tree. It's an unsmooth tree on the outside. Hear trudan fast. Hyrde fires. It's the warden of the fire. We learned that, like the herdsman of the fire. And it's hard, fast in the ground. Wurtrumum underredded winnan on edla. Winnan on edla, that like joy in its estate. Yeah, joy to see upon one's own estate. Yeah, we can take that pretty closely there. Wurtrumum underredded, its roots below. Didn't really get that here. That's fine. Let's look at Old Norwegian. Now, Old Norwegian doesn't have the same rune in terms of sound value, but they use it for this rune. they use a cognate for this rune, which is a different rune, but with a different sound entirely, but they use the same sort of name for it. So Ir vetergrensdruida. Yeah, it's the greenest, winter greenest tree. Winter greenest wood. Greenest one in Wintry Nights, yeah. We might be able to borrow that too. And Thar Brent Atsvida. Does that show up here? Not really. Nah. Let's look at here. Ir bender boi och brott järn och fivo farboti. Do we get anything about bows at all? Chaos written upon his skin. He bends. Okay, he bends but doesn't break. Eternally he stands his roots deep in the depths of the reindeer sea. So this is mostly sticking with like just the yew tree and not necessarily the bows that you make from it. Exactly. Chaos written upon its skin. Ooh, this might be a fun but tricky one to do. But let's see what we can do. So, the tree with the roughest bark. So what I'm unsure of is if I want to like stick with what's in Old English and express roughest in the same way of like unsmooth, or if I want to, what am I trying to say? If I want to use a word for rough more directly or literally. And I think that's going to depend on what alliteration I want in the next line. Well, it might not matter if I make it W alliteration. If I get tree across with wudu. Because then I can have like wintergränest on. Yeah. Let's try some things out. So like, Smev. I'm trying to remember if this would be. What the ending would be Northumbrian. Because I think it's an I stem. Like it's smitha, smooth in the masculine. And I think that would mean it would be a U in the feminine. Oh, but wudu is masculine because it's just a U stem. Okay, what's wrong with me? Un smede wudu. Winternächte. No, Winternächtes, in winter night. Winternächte, yeah, in winter nights. Gränest. funny is this, because it's dative genitive plural here, it makes it sound almost like it's the greenest of the winter nights instead of greenest in winter nights, just because you use the genitive, like you use nächtes for like at night, and this is in nights. Oh, I could use the accusative to express the time, but that would still be Winternacht. So it's just ambiguous, very ambiguous here. Winternächtegrenost. On Winternächtegrenost. Unsmedodo. Roughest tree. Roughest of wood. Roughest wood, or rough wood, very unrough wood, in winter nights, greenest. How proudly he stands, a magnificent joy to see upon one's own estate. Ooh, okay, the way that this is broken up is my challenge here. Upon one's own estate. Oh, this might need to be like a 3 for 2 again. Because, okay, proudly he stands. Lank. I almost want to just say like lank. On Blanca win. That would just be Blanca win. Because in Old English we have win on edla. Win on edla. Which means like a joy in one's estate. Win on edla. And that's fine because the first half of that is underredet. Win. Blanca standeth. This would be stent in West Saxon, but I think it's just standeth in Northumbrian there. So Blanca standeth, stands strong, stands proud, win magnificent joy to see. Standeth. Lanco win. Because win is feminine. So Lanco is the feminine there. Actually, it's heavy, so the U might not show up in most Old English dialects, at least. Yeah, the U won't show up. It's too heavy. Yeah. Standeth lank win. Standeth lank win. Whoa. Win. On Edla. Win on Edla. I mean, but we are losing some stuff here by doing that. We're losing he, like how proudly he stands. Because it can't be he, because win is feminine. Because it's a joy. And we're losing the magnificent and to see part. But I can't think of a way to rearrange that to have it with those meanings while still alliterating. Standeth lank, win on edla. So it's like a proud joy stands in one's estate. Okay, now with it being the subject, now that kind of does change things a bit, though. It changes the meaning. I mean, because we're not putting any punctuation here, this is ambiguous. We could say, like, stands blank. He stands. Stands he blank. He stands proud. A joy on the estate. My two stresses are standeth and blank. That's weird with the verb being the stress. Okay, standeth he blank. I could use the noun pride. I could say he stands in pride. On blanke. Standeth he on blanke. Wuldorwin. A glorious joy in one's own estate. Oh wait, no, that doesn't work because this is the second half line. Never mind, I can't do that. Win on edla. On blanke. Win on edla. I was hoping not to have too many of these, but well. Alright. Weathered and beaten. Weathered and beaten with chaos written upon his skin. I'm not sure what's meant by that. Just it being weathered and beaten, that's the chaos written upon his skin? Or is it, once again, sort of talking about the roughness of the bark? I'm a little unsure there. I'm not sure how literally I should take that. Chaos written upon his skin. First, the roughness and the randomness of the patterns on the bark. Okay, so I was right. That was my second guess. Okay, so weathered and beaten. Alliteration here is going to be tricky. Because for this, I'm thinking like couldn't have said, you couldn't have said. But then the words for chaos, I'm thinking of. I'll start with D. So let's see what I can do. We might need to go to Bosworth-Toller to get some synonyms, look at some words that might be able to alliterate. Okay, so I'm going to go to Bosworth-Toller, and someone last time I was doing this suggested I actually show my Bosworth-Toller screen when I do this, because people think it might be fun to see. Whoa, that's super zoomed out. Okay. It is tricky getting it all in the window just because of the way I have to cut it for the Google Doc is different than the way I would need to cut it for Bosworth-Toller, but hopefully this is still visible. Let's go. Actually, one more zoom in. Might be cutting off important things at this point, though. Yeah. That's annoying. maybe I can do that. Is that better? Yeah, I think it is. So let's see. Here we've got, what we want to do is we're looking for, I think we want to start with chaos through my opponent's skin. No, I think we'll start with different words for weathered. That way we can like see our range of potential alliterations. We can have let's look up weather as a verb, see if we get any hits at all. Yeah, we got some. Widrian, to be fair. To be fair weather, yeah. On langtana bana sawan winjar setan, on rada after sam, if hit mode Widrian, medran and seto, in sid sawan. Okay, so it's like to be good weather here, which is not what we want. To be weather. I guess we could say rough weather. Yeah, wederian. But what these don't mean is, what none of these mean so far is to weather as in to be weathered, like to survive weather. Here we get to get rough weather. Reogan. That's just the word rough as a verb. Styrman, to storm, yeah. To predict, yeah, Fredian. Fredast, yeah. Weathered and beaten. For beat, I'm thinking like the way the verb knissan is used a lot for waves beating on things. Batan, yeah, knidan, knokian, batan. I didn't search bear. Yeah, the search function sometimes only, like, it gives you up to your last letter, not always including your last letter, which is annoying at times. Knokian, knock, beat, pound, knossian. I'm thinking of knossian and knissan. Beat with the fists. Knissan, yeah, knissan is what I was thinking of too. Knossian and knissan are related verbs. To endure, yeah, if you use that verb. Ferian, stan, skripan, slan, yeah. Yeah, there's knissan. Yeah, suffer dreogan. Dreogan might be good because that might alliterate with one of the words for chaos, if we can find one. Knidan. What you're seeing is there's a lot of CN. Knokian, knissan, knossian, knidan. Sort of like the phonesthetics of beating something in Old English. Yeah, we're getting a lot of bear because of the whole not taking your last letter into account thing. What if I put a space? Does that change anything in my search? It did. It did. I didn't know that would work. Okay. That is good to know. Fistlian, slickan, fettian, slan, knissan, howen, yeah, howen, pirtan, portian. Interesting. Pirta, ferret. I've never seen that verb before. Pirtan. Nassian, nist. Okay. So I'm just gonna take note of some of these options. We have like Nassian, knissan, knidan, fershan. Oh yeah, just thrash. Oh, that's a strong verb, so I think it'll be like fershan or something for the past participle. Bat. Kneaded, knissed, kneaded. Knosod. Knosod. I'm writing down these as past participles that should, dinged. Punyan, pounded. Sorry. I'm not supposed to get that notification right now. And here I am getting it. Okay, I need to make sure that's closed. Background program should not be on. That is getting notifications on my computer. Sorry for those sounds. There we go. That should not be on right now. I hate when you tell something not to run, but it runs anyway. Task manager. Okay. Okay. I was in the process of writing my options here. Sweet bit. Okay, so I don't actually need these open. I don't know why I opened these in a new tab. I think I wanted to see how they're glossed. They beat some. Sumaknidan. Forknidan. Oh, and it's strong. Okay. To beat or break into pieces. That's what I expected for for as a prefix, but okay. Knidden is the past participle there. Knidden. Okay. Oh, and I think I forget how Knissan conjugates. I think Knissan is weak. Yeah, Knissid. Yeah, it's right there. Okay. And then Knostian is definitely a weak verb. Okay. Cool. So my options that I've written down are Knosod, Knosod, Knissed, Knidden, Thorshen, Batten, Swipped, Ponod, and Beswungen. So we've got C, H, Thorn, B, S, and P as our sort of like alliterations go in there. I wanted a D. We have a drivan that came up a few times, so that's like to drive in or pound something. And I don't think that makes a lot of sense to talk about the bark of a tree. Drevan can mean suffer, so we can say like it has suffered. And then that could be our alliteration. But let's look at our words for chaos, and it needs to be a noun. Chaos. It's probably getting cut off again. Yeah, okay, you can just barely see that. Okay. Search. Alright, Dualma. That's what I expected. Yeah, I was expecting to only get Dualma as a result. And that's basically what I got. I got Dualma. And yeah, Dualma. But this is sort of chaos as in like... Well, let's look at the examples that we have for chaos. This is just a spelling variant, Duolma. These are in the meters of Boethius. That's where these are. I can tell from the abbreviation here, we'll say, yeah. Yeah, metrical portions of Boethius. The King Alfred's translation of Boethius, yeah. Okay, they're not going to give me the context. Well, maybe the archive.org will give me the context, but I'll look at that in a minute. I've actually looked at these before, but I want to do it on stream. Yeah, it's translating Greek chaos, which is more like cosmic emptiness or void, and not exactly chaos in the modern English sense of just like randomness. Yeah, dwalma chaos. Betwixt us and eo is Mitchell dwalma yetrimid. Inter nos it was chaos magnum firmatum est. Yeah. So it's this like idea of emptiness or darkness. Yeah, mistis dwalaman. Oh, this is it. It's the quote. Yeah, I'm gonna try disorder next. This is actually the bit of music I was looking for. So yeah, two fixations draw together before the mind of chaos. A chaos of darkness. Yeah, so disorder would probably be better. That's my next course of action. Look for synonyms that actually mean closer to what's meant. Nyarek. Unyarek, yeah. Irmth. These are not exactly necessarily what we want. This is more like disorder in the distressing situation kind of meaning. I think what we really want is, and this is a verb that comes up a lot, a derivative of fawn. It's the adjective form is fa, and it means like adorned or variegated. Yeah. Usually that ends up meaning multicolored, but we're talking about like multi-carved, I guess. Yeah, drop fa, grede fa, terribly hostile, terrible in its variegated coloring. Fa, yeah, colored, stained, dyed, tinged, shining, variegated. Gold fa, adorned with gold. So something with this word, but describing sort of like the randomness of it, I guess. Some kind of compound. Adorned randomly, I guess. What is the line? Modern English. With chaos written upon its skin. I wonder if there are any other words for bark. What can I spell today? Yarind was what came to mind. None of our verbs had R, though. Oh, it's doing the thing. Now I know that the space actually does something. Inner bark of a tree. We want the outer bark of a tree. Scratches the bark of trees. Yeah, Orin de Cliver, it's a woodpecker. Clivian, yeah. To scratch. Actually, are there any other tested words for yew tree? Or is it just ew? Yeah, it's just ew, okay. Man, that was helpful that I could find something like that. Maybe beaten and scratched. take a look at Clivian, actually. This is related to cleave, yeah. Clibor. Clivrian. This one feels more promising to me. Main entries here. Okay. Claw, scratch, Clivrian. It's Clivria in Alfred's grammar. Okay. In a dictionary. Okay. Tolclivrian. Ooh, that sounds a lot more promising. Tolclivrian. Scratch or tear to pieces. Okay. Tolclivrad. Yes. Okay, I have an idea now. So, I'm going to use nos. What was the verb? Nosian. I'm going to say nos. Whoa. Keeps happening despite me putting extra spaces below. Yeah, nosod is what it's going to be. Yeah, nosod and tolclivrod. And it's going to be hruving. Hruvinga on rinda. Yeah. So, what that is, more literally, is like beaten and scratched to pieces, scabs, or roughness on the skin. It's feminine. It could be hruvinga or hruvinga. Both endings for the feminine are tested. I just like to be pretty consistently like to use the for the feminine accusative, because same as the genitive, which is more ambiguous, but it's also an e in the accusative, genitive, and dative of the singular. So I like to use a just to make it at least a little bit more clear that it's plural instead of singular. So okay, hruvinga onorinda. So like sort of roughness. Actually, I guess it could be singular. Hruvinga, roughness on the skin. He bends but doesn't break. Alright, he bends but does not break. Eternally he stands, his roots deep in the depths of the reindeer sea. Alright. Let's see here. Bends but does not break. I'm racking my brain right now first for like standing versus bending and breaking, because I feel like I'm going to end up with B alliteration regardless of what I do there, unless I like get really creative. I think I'm going to be ending up with B. So it standeth, its roots deep in the depths of the reindeer sea. I think deep in the depths of the reindeer sea is going to be its own line at the bottom. So eternally he stands, his roots. I think what I'm going to do is eternally he stands with his roots in the depths of deep in the depths of the reindeer sea. Because then that can make more sense. The roots can make more sense showing up in this half line, which is the second half line, if this is the first half line. It's a challenge. I think what I might need, because I can make, if I have roots in the second half line, I can use wirt, and then that can have W alliteration. So I can use forwirtan, or forwerkan, for break, like to be undone. Well, no, that means to undo. It needs to be intransitive. Okay, I'll just put what I'm doing so far in my head. Hey. No, we're not in Wessex. Bueth. He bueth ak ne. I think the key is going to be here. If it's going to be breketh, then it'll be breketh, but that traps us with having to use B. A different word for break. And there are a few, but I'll have to find a good one that alliterates. The problem is, usually when we use eternally, like eche, it would be like, that's a stress, but we have to pretend it's not. Eche on virtum standeth. And then we have another issue, which is depths, and reindeer sea is going to be tricky as well. If you deep in the depths, that's going to be de-alliteration. But reindeer is hran in Old English, so we need H alliteration actually. Hran lau, hran laur, hran meta or something. So we need for reindeer sea. Well, okay, since I know that, it's going to be something in the something on hran meta. Oh, does that work as a stress? Hran lau, hran la is what that would be, because lao is a U stem, right? Yeah. Hran la. So something on hran la. I think it needs to be something with an H. In the depths of the reindeer sea. The depths of the reindeer sea. Okay. Deep in the depths of the reindeer sea. Alright. I need some words for deep that don't start with a D. So, we're going to need to go to... Okay, I'm going to look up depth. I'd say deep, though. For depth in Old English. I think that's actually not attested. We have deepness. But depth is... like very easily reconstructible based on every other like adjective plus into its like noun form, like strong, strength, long, length, deep, depth. So we can reconstruct depth really easily. Depth. But deepness is attested. Abyss. But again, D is our problem here. We've got depth, yeah. Mitrab. Deepness. Hellgrund, yeah. That has an H, but that's not what we want at the depth of hell. Unless we do. So okay. Hellegrund is actually what this is usually. There we go. Yeah, it's used in Christ and Elena. Those poems, Hellegrund. Depths of hell. And it's usually like Christian hell that this is referring to, where it shows up in Christ and Elena. Same with Helliggrund in Old Saxon, and that's in Heliand. It shows up meaning like Christian hell. Here we have Old High German Helliggrund translating Tartarus. So yeah, it's sort of more of like the Christian hell idea, and not so much just like the earth. It could be cool to sort of reappropriate this into a just sort of more simple earth ground, like Helle, as sort of the more like sort of heathen concept of hell, being just associated with the earth. But we don't don't know how... That could actually be pretty cool. Because it is eoch, the yew tree. I'm interested in your thoughts, North Sea Poet. Because what I'm thinking about is sorry, I'm just checking something real quick. Yeah. Okay. I think it would be cool if the yew tree goes down to hell. Almost like in a world tree kind of sense. But at least in sort of like the conjectured type of tree that Yggdrasil is in Old Norse, it's typically thought of as being an ash tree and not a yew tree. And I think it just opens up too many things that aren't here in this poem using Hellegrund, as cool as it would be. I think we're deviating too much by going with this, but I'm desperate for an H. I'm just very desperate for an H here. I still have this open. Doesn't need to be open. Let's go back to advanced search. And let's go definition. Okay, so depth isn't working. Let's try deep, and let's go adjective and see what comes up. And if we get H's, we'll look into that. All right. Deep sounds Schläglände. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, yep, the glitch. There's this glitch that happens with Boss Toller no matter what computer I'm on, what browser I'm using, where sometimes just randomly, if you've searched something, it will just decide to reload your search as if there's nothing here and just give you the alphabet A to Z. Don't know why that happens. Ungründe, yeah, bottomless. Nail. Thought about that, but that doesn't help us with H. It's the opposite of what we want. Hopi. Hol. I'll look into that one. I don't want to click on it. I was trying to open a new tab, but my trackpad and mouse, I don't have a mouse, I have a trackpad, and it's very glitchy. Sometimes it right clicks when I left click, when I try to left click, and vice versa. Okay, in hills and hollows, apply to the sea, reference, yeah, like hope is like the cliffs on the side of the sea is what that usually means. Hope Yahnast is like the tossing of the waves near cliffs in Old English. Oh, it's right there. Hope Yahnast. Let's do that. Yeah, the dashing together waves in a bay. So this doesn't really help us. Yeah, the root word here is hope. Then hope, more hope. Hopa. It's different. Hope, yeah. Piece of raised or enclosed land in the midst of a fen, marsh, wasteland. Hopa. Irrelevant to us. Okay, let's go back. I have to redo the advanced search. I don't feel like going back multiple times. Alright, let's look deep. Only 13 results. Oh, it did it again. I just have to reload the page. Don't know why that happens. So we got hole. Can we use hole somehow? Deep in the depths. Hole? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to help us, but clicking on it might give us some ideas. Hole. Yeah. Add. So this is not the main entry, is it? It's all here is the main entry then. Covering. Oh no, this isn't either. Oh, it's way down here is the... Sometimes the order of entries and additional entries is where, yeah. Hole, hollow, cavern, dead, yeah. Yeah, okay. This isn't going to help, I don't think. But I'm going to leave it here, as we are with this. Sort of have unresolved. What I need here is break. I need a word for break that starts with a W. I need a W word for break. And here, I need a word for deep and or depths that starts with H. To alliterate with la. So that will be my task, my first task before next week. And then I will try to get some done throughout the week. I might be busier than even I normally am this week. So I don't know if I'll get 7 done, but I will try my best to get a good chunk of these done. Because we're almost halfway, actually, at least in the document, with these poems. So that is all for today. I apologize for the random shift in schedule forward an hour. We will be back to our typical time of, I just realized I've been covered for the last while. That's okay. I've just been hidden behind this. I did not even realize that. Cool. Next time, hopefully, we will be back to the typical schedule of noon to 2 Pacific. I'll readjust that on my Twitch schedule. So that will be fixed, hopefully. And I will hopefully have a good chunk of these done. I will hopefully have also figured out this issue here with these alliteration challenges. But thank you for everyone who is able to be here. Thank you anyone watching this in the future. Please feel free to leave any comment suggestions for other Yesterlore stuff. I'm still looking for more Yesterlore suggestions in the comments on YouTube. And yeah, that will be all for today. I hope you all have a great rest of your time zone. Thank you, and farewell.